He knew she would hurt me. That's why he attacked her. Even Dad didn't believe me when I said he was just protecting me. And now they want to kill him. They want to kill the very dog my mother got for me before she died. But I won't let them. I need you to understand something before I tell you the rest. I need you to know that what I did was, God, how do I even say this? Selling Max to a stranger on the internet. Lying to my father's face. Watching him search for weeks while I just stayed silent. But you have to understand, Susie would have made Dad kill him. She always got what she wanted. Always. Mom died when I was 11. Cancer. The kind that doesn't just kill you. It hollows you out first. I remember her hand. So thin I could see everything. Every bone. Every vein. Like she was already halfway gone. Take care of Max, baby, she whispered. Her voice was barely there. He'll take care of you. 3 hours. That's all she had left. Max was a German Shepherd mix. All black, except for this patch of brown on his chest. Looked like a heart if you squinted hard enough. Mom got him for me when I turned 10, before the cancer, before we knew it was coming back. I think she knew. Somehow. Maybe mothers just know when they're leaving. For a year after Mom died, it was just me, Dad, and Max's dad worked constantly. Contractor, builds houses. So he'd leave at 6 and come home at, 8, 9. I didn't mind. Max would do homework with me. Well, I'd do homework. He'd lie on my feet under the table. At night, when I'd wake up crying because I dreamed Mom was still, Max would already be there, pressed against my side. Warm. Real. Then Dad met Susie. Work function. She was a secretary at one of the development companies. Pretty, I guess. Blonde hair, always curled perfect. That smile that it never reached her eyes, you know? But I wanted to like her. Dad seemed happy for the first time. Since Mom. And I hadn't seen him happy in so long. 6 months. That's how long they dated before she moved in. Everything changed. It started small. These little comments. Oh, Lisa. Honey, maybe brush your hair before dinner? We want to look presentable. Or, sweetie, I think you've had enough snacks. Growing girls need to watch there, you know. She'd say these things with a smile. Always when Dad wasn't around. At first I thought maybe she was trying to help. Trying to be, I don't know, motherly. But then the food thing got worse. She'd serve Dad these huge plates. Full plates for herself. And for me, these tiny portions. Just helping you develop healthy eating habits, sweetheart. If I tried to get more, she'd give me this cold look. Like I'd done something disgusting. Dad never noticed. He was so happy to have a family again that he didn't see how my clothes started hanging off me. How I was disappearing. Max noticed, though. He'd stay close during meals, watching Susie with these dark, intense eyes. When she'd reach across to take my plate, before I was even done, he'd growl. Low. Quiet. But she'd hear it. She'd laugh it off, call him protective, but I could see it bothered her. Good, I thought. Let something bother her for once. The real problem started 4 months after she moved in. I came home from school and found Max locked in the backyard. July. Texas heat. The kind where the air shimmers and the ground burns your feet. He'd been out there for hours. No water. Panting so hard his whole body was shaking. I ran to let him in, but the door was locked from inside. I had to run around to the front, through the house, my backpack still on, screaming, Susie. Max is outside, Oh, I know. She didn't even look up from her phone. Just kept scrolling, laughing at something. He peed on the carpet this morning. Dogs need to learn consequences. He could die out there. Then maybe... She smiled, still scrolling. Maybe he'll learn faster. I unlocked the door myself. Max practically fell inside, heading straight for his water bowl. He drank and drank and drank. I sat on the floor next to him, crying, my hand on his back. I could feel his heartbeat. Too fast. Panicked. That night I told Dad. Everything. The locked door, no water, the heat. He looked troubled. Called Susie in. She cried. Actually cried. Said she'd made a mistake. That she forgot he was out there. That she felt terrible. Dad believed her. Of course he did. She was good at crying. Just enough tears to look sorry. Not enough to ruin her makeup. It was an accident, Lisa, Dad said, his hand on my shoulder. People make. Susie loves you. She's trying her best. But Max knew better. From that day on, he wouldn't let her near me. If she came into my room, he'd position himself between us. If she tried to hug me, which she did when Dad was watching, this fake affection that made my skin crawl, Max would bark until she backed off. Dad thought it was a training issue. Talked about obedience classes, dominance problems. Susie knew what it really was, though. Max could see right through her. The abuse got worse. She'd wait until Dad left for work, then come into my room and go through my things. Throw away stuff I cared about, notes from old friends, pictures of Mom, a necklace Mom gave me. When I'd ask where they went, she'd just shrug. I'm decluttering, sweetie. You have too much junk. She'd scream at me over nothing. Homework on the table. Shoes by the door. Max's fur on the couch. Her face would turn red, veins popping in her neck, and she'd call me stupid, worthless, burden, mistake. Then Dad would come home and she'd be sweet again, asking about my day, offering to help with dinner. I felt like I was going crazy, like maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was imagining how bad it was. But Max never doubted. He knew. The attack happened on a Tuesday. Early release day. I got home at 2 instead of 3:30. Dad wasn't supposed to be home until 7. Susie had the whole afternoon. I walked in to find her in my room, holding my journal, my private journal where I wrote letters to Mom, where I said things I couldn't say out loud. She was reading it, laughing. Dear Mom, I miss you so much. Susie isn't like you. She's mean and I don't think she loves me. She mimicked my voice, made it sound whiny, pathetic. Poor little Lisa. Poor baby. Give it back. My voice shook. I was 12, but I felt 6 years old. Small. Powerless. Or what? She stepped closer, still holding the journal. You'll tell your daddy? He doesn't believe you, sweetheart. He thinks I'm wonderful. He thinks you're just a jealous little brat who can't handle mommy being. That's when Max came in. He must have heard something wrong in my voice. When he saw Susie standing over me, saw her holding something of mine, saw the look on my face, he lunged. Not at her throat. Not to kill. Just at her arm. The one holding the journal. His teeth caught her forearm, and she screamed, this high-pitched shriek that didn't sound human. She dropped the journal. Max let go immediately, backed up to stand in front of me. You monster. Susie grabbed her arm, blood seeping between her fingers. You vicious, horrible. Max didn't move, didn't bark, just stood there, watching her. She ran out screaming, and I heard her on the phone, sobbing, gasping. He attacked me. He just unprovoked. I was just, oh my God, there's so much blood. She was calling Dad. I knelt down next to Max, wrapped my arms around his neck. It's okay, I whispered, even though it wasn't. Even though I knew everything was about to get so much worse. You were just protecting me. You're a good boy. Such a good boy. His tail wagged once. Slow. Uncertain. He licked my face. Dad came home an hour later with Susie. She had a bandage on her arm. Had been to urgent care. Tetanus shot. Antibiotics. Probably played up every second of it. She was still crying when they walked in, clinging to Dad's arm like she might collapse. They found me in my room with Max. Both of us on my bed. I'd locked the door. Lisa, open the door. We need to talk about Max. I didn't move. Lisa. Now. I opened the door. Dad's face was hard. Closed off. Susie stood behind him, her bandaged arm cradled dramatically against her chest, her eyes red, but somehow triumphant, like she'd won something. He has to go, Dad said. No. My voice came out flat. Dead. No, he doesn't. She was in my room. She was reading my journal. He attacked her, Lisa. Unprovoked. It wasn't unprovoked. She was hurting me. Enough. Dad's voice got louder. I flinched. He never yelled at me before Susie. Never. I don't want to hear excuses. That dog is dangerous. Susie could have been seriously hurt. She's always hurting me. And nobody believes me. Max was just. Lisa. Susie's voice was soft. Sweet. Poisonous. Honey, I know you're upset. but you're not thinking clearly. The dog is violent. He needs to be put down before he hurts someone else. Before he hurts you. He would never hurt me. We're taking him to be euthanized on Friday, Dad said. His voice was final. Done. I'm sorry, Lisa, but it's already decided. I've talked to the vet, and it's for the best. Friday. 3 days away. They were going to kill him. Kill Max, kill the last thing I had of Mom. The only living being who actually cared about me. Who saw the truth. I looked at Susie, and for just a second, her mask slipped. She smiled. Real smile. Small and cold and satisfied. She wanted this. She'd wanted this for months. And now she had it. That night, after they went to bed, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let them kill Max. I couldn't save myself. I was 12 years old. Nowhere to go, no way out. But I could save him. I opened my tab and searched home for dog urgently. The clock read 11:47 p.m. I had 48 hours. I'd never done anything like this before. Never lied this big. Never planned something behind Dad's back. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type. I kept deleting and retyping the same sentences over and over. Urgent rehoming needed for 3-year-old German Shepherd mix. Good with kids, loyal, protective. Free to good home. Must go ASAP. Serious inquiries only. I attached 3 photos of Max. One of him sleeping in sunlight. One with his favorite toy. One of just his face, those intelligent dark eyes staring into the camera like he could see into your soul. My throat got tight looking at that last one. I could barely see the screen through my tears. I posted the ad on 5 different groups. Then I sat there in the dark, my screen the only light, and Max asleep at the foot of my bed, completely unaware that his life was about to change forever. The first response came at 1:14 a.m. I'd almost fallen asleep when my laptop dinged. Still available? Can pick up tomorrow. Cash. No introduction. No questions about Max's temperament, his health, his history. Just those 7 words. Something about it felt wrong. Cold. But I was desperate. Yes, $50. I don't know why I asked for money. Maybe to make it seem more legitimate. Less like I was just throwing Max away. Maybe because some part of me thought if someone paid for him, they'd value him more. Deal. Address? I couldn't give our address. What if Dad came home early? What if Susie saw? The park 6 blocks away. The one with the big oak trees and the empty parking lot. Riverside Park. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Bring a leash. See you then. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I drift off for a few minutes, then jolt awake with this sick feeling in my stomach. This knowledge that I was about to do something I could never take back. Around 5 a.m., I heard Dad getting ready for work. Shower running. Coffee maker gurgling. His heavy footsteps on the stairs. I held my breath until I heard his truck pull out. Susie didn't get up until 9. I heard her alarm through the walls. Heard her moving around in the master bedroom. My door was still locked from the inside. I'd pushed my desk chair under the handle. I wasn't taking chances. At 9:30 she knocked. 3 sharp raps that made Max's ears perk up. Lisa, open this door. I didn't answer. Max got up, stretched, came over to where I was sitting on the floor with my back against the bed. He nuzzled my hand with his cold nose. I had to bite my lip to keep from crying. I know you're in there. Your father asked me to check on you before school. You're going to be late. I don't feel well, I called out. My voice sounded hollow, distant. I think I'm staying home. A pause. Then fine. But that dog better not make a mess. I listened to her footsteps retreat down the hallway, heard her go back into her bedroom and close the door. The house settled into silence, just the hum of the AC and Max's breathing beside me. I spent the morning doing everything with him that I could. We played fetch in the backyard. I threw his tennis ball until my arm ached and he was panting but still wanting more. I gave him 3 treats, the expensive ones I'd been saving, the ones that smelled like bacon and made him do his happy dance, hopping from paw to paw. I brushed his fur until it gleamed, worked through the tangles behind his ears that he usually hated having touched. But today he just leaned into my hands and closed his eyes. I took pictures. So many pictures. Max sitting. Max lying down. Max with his tongue out, mid-pant, looking goofy and beautiful. Max looking straight at the camera with those eyes that saw everything. Knew everything. At 2:30, I knew I had to go. Susie was in the living room watching some reality show, volume up loud. I could hear people screaming at each other through the TV. Fake drama. Fake problems. I wish my problems were fake. I clipped Max's leash to his collar, the blue one Mom had bought with his name embroidered in silver thread. My hands were shaking so badly it took me 3 tries to get the clip fastened. Max looked up at me, tail wagging, excited. He thought we were going for a walk. He thought this was normal, good, happy. I wanted to throw up. We slipped out the back door while Susie was distracted. The afternoon sun hit my face like a slap. Hot and bright and wrong. Everything felt wrong. The sky was too blue. The grass too green. The world too normal when nothing would ever be normal again. Max pulled ahead on the leash. Eager. Trusting. We walked the 6 blocks to park. Every step felt like marching to an execution. My execution, not his. He would live. He had to live. That was the point. The park was empty except for one car, a beat-up dark green car, with a dent in the rear bumper. A man leaned against the driver's side door, arms crossed, watching us approach. Maybe 35, 40. Greasy hair pulled back in a ponytail. Stained t-shirt that might have been white once. He looked bored, annoyed even, like this was an inconvenience. My stomach dropped. "Are you Lisa?" he called out when we were still 20 feet away. "Yeah." My voice came out barely above a whisper. He pushed off from the car, walked toward us. Max's body went tense beside me, ears forward, alert. The man reached into his back pocket, pulled out a worn wallet, extracted 2 20s and a 10. He shoved them at me. The man looked down at Max for the first time, really looked at him. Max stared back, body still tense, not growling but not relaxed either. The man made a clicking sound with his tongue, the kind people make when they're trying to get a dog's attention. Max didn't move. Is he friendly? Very, I lied. Max was friendly with people he trusted, people who were good. I didn't think this man qualified. He's just protective of me. He'll warm up to you. The man grunted, clearly unconvinced. He reached for the leash. I had to force myself to hand it over. The moment his fingers touched the nylon, Max looked up at me, confused, questioning. "Why are you giving me to him?" "He's had his shots," the man asked, already tugging Max toward the car. "Yes, all of them." Max resisted as the man pulled him toward the car. He dug his paws into the grass, looking back at me. The confusion in his eyes was shifting into something else. Fear. Betrayal. "Max, go," I said. My voice cracked. "Go on. It's okay." But deep down, it wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. The man opened the back door of the car. It creaked, protested, and tried to lift Max inside. Max pulled back hard. For a second, I thought he might bite, might fight, might refuse to go. But then he looked at me again, and I saw him make the decision. If this was what I wanted, he would do it. Because he trusted me. Because he loved me. He let the man lift him into the back seat. The door slammed shut. Through the window, I could see Max's face pressed against the glass, nose leaving wet smudges, eyes locked on mine. The man walked around to the driver's side, didn't even look at me, just got in and started the engine. "Wait," I said, my voice barely audible. The man rolled down his window halfway, irritated. "What? Where are you taking him?" "Does it matter?" He put the car in reverse. "Please, just take care of him. He's a good dog. He deserves somewhere good." Yeah, I'll take care of him." The window rolled back up. I watched the car back out of the parking space, watched it turn toward the exit. Max's face never left the window, never stopped looking at me. And I stood there frozen, my arms wrapped around myself, watching the only thing I had left of Mom, the only thing that had ever protected me, disappear down the street. When the car turned the corner and I couldn't see it anymore, my legs gave out. I collapsed onto the grass, and I sobbed, not the quiet kind of crying, not dignified grief, loud, ugly, choking sobs that made my chest hurt and my throat raw. I cried until I had nothing left, until I was just dry heaving into the grass, spit and snot and tears mixing together. A jogger passed by, gave me a wide berth. Probably thought I was crazy. Maybe I was crazy. Maybe you had to be crazy to give away the only good thing in your life. But he was alive. That was what mattered. Susie and Dad couldn't kill him if they couldn't find him. I walked home in a daze. The sun was lower now, casting long shadows across the sidewalk. My shadow looked wrong, stretched out and distorted. Everything was distorted. When I got home, Susie was in the kitchen. She looked up when I came in. Her eyes went immediately to my empty hands. No leash, no dog. Her face transformed. First confusion, then understanding, then rage, pure, undiluted rage that made her features twist into something ugly and sharp. Where is he? Her voice was quiet, dangerous. I don't know. I tried to move past her toward the stairs, but she grabbed my arm. Her fingers dug in hard enough to bruise. Where is the dog? He ran away. I was walking him and he. She slapped me before I could finish. Open palm across my cheek. So hard my head snapped to the side, and I tasted blood where I bit my tongue. The world went white for a second. Just pure shock pain. You lying little girl. She was breathing hard now. Her face inches from mine. You did something with him. Where is he? I don't know. I was crying again. Or maybe I'd never stopped. He pulled the leash out of my hand and ran. I tried to catch him, but she hit me again. The air exploded out of my lungs and I gasped. She still had my arm and she yanked me upright, her nails cutting into my skin. You will tell me where that dog is, or I swear to God. I don't know. I screamed it this time, raw and desperate. I don't know where he is. She stared at me for a long moment, her chest heaving, her eyes searching my face for the lie. I forced myself to hold her gaze, forced myself not to look away, even though every instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, to make myself small. Finally, she shoved me away. I stumbled back, hit the wall, slid down to sit on the floor. You're lying, she said, but there was uncertainty in her voice now. You're lying, and when your father gets home. What's going on? We both froze. Dad stood in the doorway, home early, his face confused, concerned. He looked at me on the floor, tears streaming down my face, red mark blooming on my cheek. He looked at Susie, still breathing hard, her fist clenched at her side. The dog ran away, Susie said before I could speak. Her voice shifted, became soft, wounded. Lisa was walking him and claims he pulled free. I got upset. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have raised my voice. Should not have hit her. Dad looked between us, and I saw him making the decision. Saw him choosing who to believe. Lisa, is that true? Max ran away. I nodded. Didn't trust my voice. Why were you walking him? I told you to keep him inside until Friday. He needed to go outside. I was just. She let him go on purpose, Susie interrupted. The gentleness was gone from her voice now, replaced by cold certainty. She's been upset about our decision. She let him go so we couldn't put him down. I didn't, but even as I said it, I could hear how unconvincing it sounded, because she was right. Not about the details, but about the intent. Dad's face hardened. Go to your room, Lisa. We'll discuss this when I've calmed down. Dad, please. Now, I pulled myself up, my stomach still aching where Susie had punched me, walked past them to the stairs. As I passed Susie, she leaned in close, so close only I could hear. He'll come back, she whispered. Dogs always come back home. And when he does, I'll make sure he suffers before he dies. I'll make you watch. I kept walking, kept climbing the stairs, went into my room and locked the door, pushed the chair under the handle again. Then I collapsed onto my bed that still smelled like Max, that still had his fur on the blanket, and I let myself break apart completely. Max was gone. He was safe, somewhere far away from here, somewhere Susie couldn't hurt him, but he was gone, and I was still here, and I just realized something horrible. Without Max, there was no one left to protect me, no witness to what Susie did, no proof that any of it was real. I'd saved him, but I condemned myself. That night, I heard Susie and Dad arguing downstairs. You can't let her get away with this. Just a dog. Disrespect. She needs to learn. Talking about discipline, not? Eventually the arguing stopped. The house went silent. I lay in the dark, listening to the settling sounds of the house, creaks and groans that used to make Max's ears perk up. But there was no soft patting of paws now. No warm weight at the foot of my bed. Just emptiness. I pulled the $50 from my pocket and stared at it in the darkness. With a sigh, I folded the bills and hid them under my mattress where Susie would never find them. Then I turned my face into my pillow and waited for morning. The first week without Max was the longest of my life. Susie watched me constantly, waiting for him to come back. Every time a dog barked in the neighborhood, she'd go to the window, pull back the curtain, scan the street with narrowed eyes. At dinner, she'd make casual poisonous comments. Dad said nothing. He stopped looking at me the same way after Max disappeared. There was disappointment in his eyes now. Suspicion. School was my only escape. The only place Susie couldn't reach me. I'd leave early, stay late, volunteer for after-school activities I'd never cared about before. Anything to delay going home. The drama club was doing our town. I signed up to paint sets, even though I couldn't paint. I just needed somewhere to be that wasn't that house. It was Thursday afternoon, 9 days after Max left, when everything fell apart. I was in English class, half listening to a teacher when the principal appeared in the doorway. He knocked twice, spoke quietly to the teacher. They both looked at me. Lisa, could you come with me, please? The classroom went silent. 26 pairs of eyes turned to stare at me. I felt my face flush hot as I gathered my books, my hands clumsy, dropping my pencil twice before I finally got everything together. The walk to the door felt like a mile. The principal didn't say anything as we walked down the hallway, and my heart hammered against my ribs. Had something happened to Dad? Was this about Max? Had they found him? We reached the main office, and he held the door open for me. Inside, sitting in one of the vinyl chairs, was Susie. She'd been crying. Her eyes were red and puffy, mascara smudged, tissues clutched in one hand. When she saw me, her face crumpled. "Oh, Lisa," she said, her voice breaking. "Why would you do this to me?" I looked at the principal confused and terrified. "I don't understand." "Mrs. Brennan," he gestured to Susie, "came to us this afternoon with a serious concern. She's missing money from her purse. $50. No. No. I didn't. I found this in your room, sweetie." Susie held up a crumpled bill. A 20. Not even one of the bills from under my mattress. But it didn't matter. "I was cleaning, putting away your laundry like I always do, and I found it hidden under your mattress, along with these." She pulled out 2 more bills, a 20 and a 10. My $50. My money from Max. "Those are mine," I said, but my voice came out weak. "I saved that money. Lisa." My principal's voice sounded disappointed. "Mrs. Brennan has been very patient with you through this difficult time, with your mother's passing and the incident with the dog. But stealing is a serious offense. I didn't steal anything. That money is mine. Lisa, please." Susie stood up, approached me with her arms outstretched like she wanted to hug me. I backed away. "I know you're hurting. I know you're angry about Max. But taking things that don't belong to you isn't the answer. You're lying." I was shaking now, my whole body vibrating with rage and helplessness. "You know that's my money. You know." "That's enough." The principal's voice got stern. "We've called your father. He's on his way. Until then, you'll wait here." They put me in the small office adjacent to the main one, the one they used for in-school suspension. Single desk and chair. Window that looked out onto the parking lot. I sat there watching cars come and go. Students leaving for the day. Free. While I was trapped. Dad arrived 40 minutes later. I watched him through the window. Saw his truck pull into the parking lot. Saw him get out and walk toward the building with his shoulders hunched. Tired. Like he was carrying something heavy. I couldn't hear what they said in the main office, but I could see them through the interior window. Susie crying, gesturing. Principal Hoffman looking grave and serious. Dad's face getting harder and harder. When they finally brought me out, Dad wouldn't look at me. "We're going home," he said. We'll discuss this there. The drive home was silent. Susie sat in the passenger seat, occasionally dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. I sat in the back, staring out the window, watching my school get smaller and smaller in the side mirror. When we got home, Dad sent me straight to my room. I heard him and Susie talking downstairs, her voice rising and falling, his responding in short, clipped sentences. An hour passed. 2. The sun started to set, painting my room in shades of orange and red. Finally, Dad knocked on my door. Come out here, Lisa. We need to talk. They were both sitting on the couch when I came down, Dad on one end, Susie on the other. A united front. I stood in front of them like a defendant awaiting sentencing. I'm very disappointed in you, Dad started. Stealing is. I didn't steal anything. The words exploded out of me. That was my money. She went through my things. She took it from my room. Lisa, stop lying. Dad's voice cracked like a whip. I've been patient with you. I've tried to understand what you're going through. But this has to stop. The lies. The defiance. What you did with Max. What I did. She was going to kill him. She's been abusing me for months, and you don't see it, because... Enough. Dad stood up and I flinched. He'd never yelled at me like that before. Never. I am sick and tired of these accusations. Susie has done nothing but try to help you. Try to be there for you, and all you do is attack her. Dad, please. You're grounded. For weeks. No tab. No computer except for homework. Straight home after school. And you're going to apologize to Susie. I looked at him. At this man who used to be my father. Who used to believe me. Who used to protect me. He was gone. Replaced by this stranger who loved Susie more than he loved the truth. I won't, I said quietly. Excuse me. I won't apologize. I didn't do anything wrong. Dad's jaw clenched. Then make it 6 weeks. And I'm calling your school tomorrow. You're going to pay back the money through community service. Maybe some hard work will teach you about consequences. I turned and walked back upstairs. Behind me, I heard Susie's soft voice. She's just acting out, honey. She needs structure. Boundaries. We'll get through this. And Dad's response, I know. Thank you for being so patient with her. I closed my door and locked it. Then I went to my mattress, lifted it up, checked the spot where I'd hidden the money. Empty, of course. She'd taken it all. Probably had taken it days ago. Just waited for the right moment to weaponize it. I'd been so stupid. So incredibly stupid. The next day at school was hell. Word had spread, and whispers followed me through the hallways. I heard she stole like $300. No, it was more. She's been stealing for weeks. That's why her stepmom came to school. Caught her red-handed. Thief. At lunch, I sat alone. Not unusual. I didn't have many friends. But today the empty space around me felt more deliberate. People actively avoided sitting near me. Like theft was contagious. I stared at my tray, soggy pizza, brown apple slices, milk that was probably expired, and thought about Max, wondered where he was. If he was okay. If he remembered me. Hey. I looked up. Mike stood there with his lunch tray, looking uncomfortable but determined. Mike was in my English class. Quiet. Smart. Didn't really talk to anyone. Mind if I sit? I shrugged. He sat down across from me. For what it's worth, he said after a moment, I don't think you stole anything. I stared at him. You don't even know me. I know. But my dad married this woman 2 years ago. Who? He paused, picked at his food. Let's just say I recognize the look. The way you flinch sometimes. The way you come to school early and leave late. Something in my chest cracked a little. Someone saw. Someone actually saw. Does it get better? I asked, my voice barely audible. Mike was quiet for a long time. Then, I don't know. I moved in with my aunt last year. Dad chose his wife over me. So, he shrugged, trying to look casual, but I could see the hurt in his eyes. We ate in silence after that, but it was a different kind of silence. Less lonely. The weeks dragged by. True to his word, Dad made me do community service at school. Cleaning the gym after basketball practice, scrubbing graffiti off bathroom walls, picking up trash around the parking lot. Susie's victory was complete. She'd isolated me, branded me a thief, turned even my own father against me. At home, The abuse got worse. Without Max there to witness it, Susie had free reign. She'd wait until Dad left for work. Then the mask would come off completely. She'd follow me around the house, criticizing everything. My hair, my clothes, my breathing, my existence. She'd stand in my doorway and talk at me for hours about how ungrateful I was, how much trouble I caused, how my mother would be ashamed of me if she could see what I'd become. That last one hurt the most because part of me wondered if it was true. She controlled my food again, back to the tiny portions, claiming she was teaching me discipline. I got thinner. My clothes hung off me. Teachers started to notice. I could see it in their glances, but no one said anything. No one ever said anything. The only thing that kept me going was the thought that somewhere, out there, Max was alive. He was breathing. He was safe from her. I'd saved him, even if I couldn't save myself. At night, I'd lie in bed and imagine his new life. Maybe the man with the green car had a big yard. Maybe Max got to run and play. Maybe he'd already forgotten about me, about this house, about everything that had happened here. 6 months after I sold Max, Dad announced we were taking a trip. Family vacation, he said at dinner, forcing enthusiasm into his voice. We all need a break. Some time to reconnect. I looked up from my barely touched food. Susie was smiling. That tight, controlled smile that never reached her eyes. Where? I asked. The coast. I've rented a beach house for a week. We leave Saturday. I didn't want to go. The thought of being trapped with Susie for an entire week, away from school, away from any witnesses, made my stomach turn. But I didn't have a choice. I was 13 now, still years away from any kind of independence. The beach house was nice, too nice for what we could usually afford. 3 bedrooms, a deck overlooking the ocean, expensive furniture that Dad immediately warned me not to touch. Susie had clearly picked it out. The first 2 days were tense, but manageable. We went to the beach, ate at restaurants, did the things families were supposed to do. Dad tried so hard to make it feel normal, to force us into being happy. Susie played along, laughing at his jokes, holding his hand, occasionally putting her arm around my shoulders in public with a grip that was just tight enough to hurt. On the 3rd day, we went to a local outdoor market. Vendors selling jewelry and art and overpriced tourist stuff. The place was crowded, loud, overwhelming. Dad wandered off to look at fishing lures. Susie stayed close to me, her hand on my shoulder, steering me through the crowd. That's when I heard it. Barking. Urgent. Familiar. Impossible. I turned, and there, 30 feet away, pulling hard on a leash held by a man I didn't recognize, was Max. He'd seen me. His whole body was rigid, straining forward, his eyes locked on mine with an intensity that made my knees weak. He looked different, thinner, scarred, with a shaved patch on his side that showed pink healing skin. But it was him. It was Max. Max. His name ripped out of me before I could stop it. The man holding his leash looked up, confused. Max lunged harder, nearly pulled the man off his feet. Susie's hand tightened on my shoulder. That's not Max, she said, her voice low and sharp. Max is dead. You're seeing things. But the dog heard his name. He went absolutely wild, barking, pulling, trying desperately to get to me. People were staring now. The man was struggling to hold him back. Miss, the man called out. Do you know this dog? I tried to move toward them, but Susie's nails dug into my shoulder through my shirt. Don't, she hissed. But I couldn't stop. I yanked away from her and ran toward Max. The moment I got close, Max broke free. The man lost his grip on the leash, and Max was on me. Not attacking, jumping up, paws on my chest, licking my face, whining in this high-pitched, desperate way I'd never heard from him before. I wrapped my arms around him and sobbed. You're alive. Oh my God, you're alive. You know this dog? The man, Asian, maybe late 30s, wearing glasses and looking completely shocked, approached cautiously. He's mine. He was mine. I thought I couldn't finish. Couldn't explain. His expression shifted. Understanding dawning. You're the one. You're who he's been trying to get back to. Then Dad was there, pulling me away from Max. Lisa, what's going on? Max's entire demeanor changed when he saw Susie. The moment Susie spoke, he went from joyful to aggressive. His lips pulled back, showing teeth, a deep growl rumbling in his chest. He positioned himself between me and Susie. "Control that dog." Susie backed away, her voice rising. "He's dangerous. He attacked me before and now." "He's protecting her," the man said quietly, his eyes moving between Susie and Max. "He only does this when someone is a threat." "What?" Dad looked confused, overwhelmed. "Your dog," the man said, looking directly at Dad now, "has saved countless children in the couple months I've had him. He is only aggressive when someone is in danger." He paused, looked at me, then at Susie. "He's never been wrong. Not once." The silence that followed was deafening. People around us had stopped to watch. Dad's face showed confusion, but not realization. "Not yet." "That's ridiculous," Susie said, her voice shaking slightly. "He's just a vicious animal. Lisa probably trained him to attack me. This is exactly why we tried to put him down." Max lunged at her. The man caught his leash just in time, but Max was straining. Every muscle in his body focused on Susie with an intensity that was terrifying. Dad looked troubled. "We should go back to the house. Talk about this." The man, I learned later his name was David, gave me his phone number written quickly on a napkin. "Call me," he said. I clutched the napkin like a lifeline. The ride back to the beach house was silent. Dad drove. Susie sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window. I sat in the back holding that napkin, my mind racing. Max was alive. Max had found me, and he tried to protect me, just like he always had. That night, Dad said we needed to talk, so the three of us sat in the living room. "I don't understand what happened today," Dad started. "But that dog was aggressive towards Susie. That's not normal behavior." "He was protecting me," I said quietly. That man said. "That man doesn't know Max's history," Susie interrupted. "He doesn't know that Max attacked me unprovoked months ago. The dog is dangerous, James. We made the right decision trying to put him down." "I want to go to bed," I said quietly because I knew where this conversation was going to end. Dad nodded, defeated. "We'll talk more in the morning." But I didn't sleep. I lay in bed holding David's number, thinking about Max, about how he'd looked at me with such joy and relief. He'd survived. He'd found me. And now I was just supposed to go back to my life like nothing had changed. No, I had to at least thank David. Had to know Max would be okay. We returned home 2 days later. The trip ended early. Dad said we all needed space to process. The tension in the house was suffocating. Dad was quiet, withdrawn, spending long hours at work. Susie watched me constantly, and I waited until I was alone to search for David's number. I'd hidden it in my textbooks, tucked between pages. In the afternoon when Dad was at work, Susie was home, but she was in the master bedroom watching TV, so I crept downstairs to look for one of Dad's old phones. I typed quickly and was about to hit send when I heard footsteps on the stairs. "Susie." I quickly closed the app without sending it and tried to navigate away, but she was already in the room. Her eyes locked on me. "What are you doing?" "Homework," I lied, but my voice shook. She crossed the room in 3 steps, then tore the phone from my grip. Her face went pale, then red. "You're trying to contact that man, the one with the dog." "I just wanted to thank him." "You want to bring that animal back here. You want to make me look like a liar." She grabbed my arm, yanked me up from the chair. "After everything I've done for you, you ungrateful little." "Let go of me." She dragged me toward the kitchen, her nails digging into my skin. I tried to pull away, but she was stronger, angrier. She shoved me against the counter, hard enough that the edge bit into my lower back. "You think you're so smart," she hissed, her face inches from mine. "You think you can turn your father against me. But you're just a stupid, selfish child who ruins everything she touches. I didn't do anything to you." I was crying now, terrified. I just wanted Max to be safe. "Safe? Safe." Her voice rose to a scream. "Nothing is safe around you. You destroy everything, just like you destroyed." She cut herself off. "Destroyed what?" I whispered. For a moment, I thought she might hit me. But instead, something worse happened. Her face crumpled. She released my arm and stepped back, her hand going to her stomach in a gesture that looked almost protective. Then, in a split second, she grabbed my wrist. "You took everything from me," she said, her voice eerily calm despite the violence of her grip. With the way she cornered me, black spots danced at the edges of my vision. I couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. Then she released me. I collapsed to the floor, gasping, my throat burning. She stood over me, breathing hard, her hands shaking. "If you ever tell anyone about this," she said quietly, "you'd see a hell much worse than this." She walked away, left me there on the kitchen floor, choking and crying. That's when I heard it, a sharp intake of breath from the doorway. I leaned forward and saw Dad standing there. His face was white, frozen. "James," Susie started, her voice immediately shifting to something softer, more desperate. I was just... "Get out," Dad said. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the air like a knife. "What?" "Get out of this house. Now, before I call the police." Susie's face went through a rapid series of expressions: shock, fear, calculation, rage. "You're choosing her? That girl is a murderer." Dad's face mirrored my own confusion. How was I a murderer? Dad's hands were shaking, and he finally said something. "How long? How long have you been hurting her?" Susie's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. "Get out." She left, grabbed her purse, her keys, walked out the front door without another word. We heard her car start, heard it pull out of the driveway. Dad knelt beside me, his hands hovering like he wasn't sure if he should touch me, if he'd break me further. "Lisa, baby, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I couldn't speak. My throat hurt too much. I just cried while Dad held me, and for the first time in months, I felt safe. What followed was a blur. Dad called the police, took pictures of the bruises forming on my body, talked to lawyers, filed for divorce and a restraining order in the same week. They investigated, talked to my teachers, who admitted they'd noticed I was losing weight, seemed withdrawn, had bruises sometimes, talked to neighbors who mentioned they'd heard yelling. And then, the final piece. Dad went through the house and found things Susie had hidden. My possessions destroyed. Then a book where she'd kept track of my punishments. She was arrested 2 weeks later. Dad called David, explained everything, asked if Max could come home. "Of course," David said. "He belongs with Lisa." We drove to David City that weekend. When I saw Max again, he went crazy, practically knocked me over with joy. That's when David told me everything. We sat in his living room while Max pressed against my side, and David told me the whole story. How Max had been hit by a car trying to come home. How he'd almost died on the operating table, but recovered. I buried my face in Max's fur and cried. David gave us everything. Max's medical records, his favorite toys, the special food he needed. We loaded it all into Dad's truck. "Take care of him," David said, kneeling to hug Max one last time. "He's a special dog." "I know," I said. "Thank you for everything." Max came home, and for 2 months, things were good. Not perfect. Dad and I were both in therapy, working through trauma and guilt, but better. Max slept in my room again, followed me everywhere, seemed content. But David had warned us. The vet had warned us. Max's internal injuries had never fully healed. The scar tissue, the complications from the accident, the stress his body had endured trying to get back to me, it was all catching up to him. He started having trouble eating, lost weight, struggled to breathe sometimes. The vet said we could try another surgery, but the chances were slim. Max was in pain, constant pain, and surgery would only prolong his suffering. "I think," the vet said gently, "it might be time to think about his quality of life." I knew what she meant. I'd known for weeks, watching him struggle, seeing the exhaustion in his eyes. We scheduled it for a Saturday. Dad took the day off. We spent the morning at the park, Max's favorite park, the one with the pond and the ducks. He couldn't run anymore, but he walked slowly beside me, his tail wagging weakly. "You kept your promise to Mom," I told him, sitting in the grass with his head in my lap. "You protected me. You saved me. You're the best thing Mom ever gave me." His tail wagged once. At the vet's office, they let us take our time. Dad sat beside me, his hand on my shoulder, while I held Max. The vet administered the sedative first, and Max's eyes started to drift closed. Peaceful for the first time in weeks. "I love you," I whispered. "Thank you for everything. I'm sorry I sent you away. I'm sorry for all of it." The final injection was quick. I felt the moment his heart stopped and cried my heart out. "Dad!" And I buried him in the backyard, under the oak tree where he used to nap in the summer. We planted flowers on the grave, Mom's favorite, white roses. The trial was 2 weeks after Max died. Susie pleaded not guilty to all charges. Her lawyer tried to paint me as a troubled, vindictive child. Tried to claim Dad was being manipulated. Tried to dismiss the evidence as circumstantial. Then Susie took the stand. The prosecutor asked her about the day Dad caught her. Asked her to explain the reason behind all her actions. Susie was quiet for a long moment. Then she started talking. "Some months back I was pregnant," she said, her voice steady. "Couple weeks along. I hadn't told anyone yet. I wanted to be sure. Wanted it to be safe before I shared the news. And then one day I came home and slipped on water Lisa had spilled in the kitchen." She paused. Let that sink in. I fell. Started bleeding that night. Lost the baby at the hospital 3 days later. The courtroom was silent. After that, every time I looked at her, all I could see was the child I'd lost. The child that should have been mine. She took that from me. Susie's voice cracked, but her eyes stayed cold. She took my baby and she didn't even care. "Ms. Brennan," the judge interrupted. "A miscarriage resulting from an accidental fall is not the child's fault." "Maybe not legally," Susie said, and her eyes found mine across the courtroom. "But in every way that matters, she killed my baby. And I wanted her to understand what that felt like. To lose something you love. To watch it suffer. To feel powerless to stop it." The prosecutor's expression hardened. "So you admit to the charges?" "I admit to trying to teach her consequences." Susie's voice was calm, controlled. "To make her understand that actions have repercussions. That you can't just destroy someone's life and walk away unscathed." I felt sick after hearing it all. But before they took her away, Susie asked to make a statement. The judge allowed it. She stood, straightened her clothes, and looked directly at me. "I'll be out in 8 years, Lisa," she said. Her voice was clear, conversational, like she was discussing the weather, maybe less with good behavior. "I'll be 46 years old, still young, still healthy, still capable." "Ma'am," the judge started, but she kept talking. "You took something from me that I can never get back. My first child, my future, my own family, and you'll pay for that. Not now, but eventually, when you're old enough to understand what you destroyed. When you have something precious of your own to lose." She smiled, then added, "I'm a patient woman. I can wait." The deputies restrained her, led her away still talking, but I couldn't hear the words anymore over the ringing in my ears. Dad put his arm around me, pulled me close. "She's trying to scare you. She can't hurt you anymore." But I'd seen the promise in her eyes, the absolute conviction. And I knew deep in my bones, in the place where instinct lives, that she meant every word. I'm 15 now. 3 years until Susie is eligible for parole. Maybe longer, maybe not. The lawyers say with good behavior, she could be out sooner. Dad says we'll move if we have to. Change our names. Disappear. But I know the truth. You can't outrun someone who has nothing left to lose. Someone who spent years in a cell thinking about you. Planning. Waiting. This is my confession. I killed Susie's baby. Not on purpose. Not with intent. But I killed it nonetheless. And in doing so, I created something worse than any monster in any story. I created an enemy who will never stop, never forgive, never forget. Max bought me time. Now I have to decide what to do with it. Because somewhere in a cell 200 miles away, Susie is waiting, counting down the days until she can make good on her promise. Dad thinks I'm paranoid. My therapist says I'm experiencing hypervigilance from trauma. That Susie is locked away and can't hurt me. But they didn't see her face in that courtroom. They didn't hear the certainty in her voice. They don't know what it's like to be someone's entire reason for living, even if that reason is revenge. Now, I check the locks 3 times before bed. I keep a baseball bat under my mattress. I've memorized the route to the police station from every location I frequent. Dad says I need to let it go. Move on. Leave my life. But how do you move on when you know the monster is still out there? When you know it's only a matter of time before it comes for you? 3 years isn't that far. And when the time comes, if the time comes, there won't be anyone standing between us. It would just be me and her and the debt she believes I owe.